Today is Friday, January 20th. January is rapidly melting away. It's pretty much your last chance to get anything done on the Devember contest currently happening on the Level 1 forums.
Woo. Some hot prizes.
Yeah, a lot of hardware, a lot of random stuff.
In these economic times, can you pass up free hardware?
So many last gen and generation before that motherboards and other random crap. I mean, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Chris is out. She's not feeling well. She'll be back.
She gambled with socializing and lost, as is always the case. Let's talk about some robots. And we've been promised this. When did they start promising us this?
Quite a while ago, but I honestly was not expecting this headline. Remember all the layoffs we covered in, like August, September, October, November? It's like all those drone delivery teams just not working anywhere anymore.
Makes you worry about the safety protocols that might have been skipped here. There are quite a bit of caveats. The worst one being your proximity to one of these stores, but they are finally going to start doing it.
Drone delivery takes off for Amazon and Walmart. Okay.
I'm hyped for it, but I know I'm not going to see it for a long, long time.
Seems like.
You might be able to get something here at the office at some point.
Get lost on the roof.
If they could drop it on the roof, but that would be so inconvenient for you to go get it on the roof. And Alexa. People turned on Alexa eventually. They figured out that Alexa was not useful and annoying and also spying on them. And they seem to have turned her off en masse. So what do you do with all that extra hardware?
Amazon and Disney team up to launch an entirely new Alexa-enabled experience for fans called Hey Disney. They know it's about programming children early.
What I love about this photo is that those two girls are staring at the back of that item.
Yeah.
They can't see the screen.
I love there's a really old computer magazine thing where they're all huddled around like a 13-inch CRT. There's like 20 kids in this room. And there's a kid just passed out on the couch in the back. Like he couldn't handle whatever was happening in the game. But most of the kids in that room cannot even see the screen.
That's just how powerful computers were in those days. The delight of them. Those old...
The radiation from the CRT caused euphoria.
The gaming console commercials from the 90s are pretty hilarious in the same way. All those kids with their neon colors and their spiked hair.
Meanwhile, Disney is marketing this to parents as, you give this to your kids and they'll be quiet for an hour.
Yeah, and it's going to serve you all the Disney Plus content and all that nonsense. They are also going to put these in all the Disney-owned hotel rooms. So it's a good way to keep your kids busy there too as well. It is just a, Alexa panel with Mickey ears on it. It's literally just that. But maybe that's a charging station. I don't know. They're excited about it. And it's got a new wake word. Hey, Disney.
Hey, Disney, order 5 pounds of gummy bears. Confirmed.
Hey, Disney, let go of some of those copyrights. And how great is it that the first company to reach level 3 is not Tesla? Ooh, that's got a sting.
Mercedes-Benz gets approval to deploy level 3 driving tech in Nevada. But we haven't gone hands-on with it yet. They're being pretty tight-lipped about it.
Now this is not hands-free. Level 3 is not hands-free. Level 3 is still, you must touch the wheel, which we've learned they can get around by hanging a weight off of it.
Sigh.
Oh, I didn't add the video of the Tesla that stopped in that tunnel.
Did everybody see the video of the Tesla that stopped in the tunnel? It's kind of old news at this point.
Go look at that. It happened a long time ago, but we just now got the video released. And it's just astonishing how bad that happened. And that nobody noticed. Like, oh, we're in a tunnel and the car is stopping. Hands off. I think at this point, because of what has happened geopolitically and economically, and with Elon Musk now focusing all of his efforts onto Twitter, the Mars mission is probably in danger. Or at least pushed back.
A bit.
A long time. But it's good to know that we're still working on some of the details of it.
Robot seal tested for stress relief on pretend Mars mission. I like the robot cat a lot better from the Buzz Lightyear movie, which I haven't even seen, but I saw in the commercials and was like, oh, that's cute. And that's the level of interaction that I needed.
No pictures. I'm positive the story I read had a picture of the seal. Weird. Anyway, this is old technology from Japan.
It's like an Aibo, but It's a seal because you can't buy eyebows anymore.
2001 was when this was designed. I don't know why they're choosing that for the Mars mission, but it's got motors and sensors and stuff in it, so you can like love it and it'll react. And 3D printed homes, that's sounding pretty good now that we're getting a tornado every month. I'd like to have a more sturdy home. I don't know if 3D printing would be better than wood. Probably would, though.
I'd like to have a catalytic converter.
Someone will steal it. If you can't actually hear that, it's trucks going by. It's awful. And motorcycle season, it's unbearable in this room. Anyway, 3D printed homes up until this point have been pretty basic. They're kind of just little boxes that they print. But now we're going like high dollar middle class with it.
3D printing reaches new heights with 2-story home. Woo! This actually looks really awesome. And I don't know, I suggested there's some money available at the state and federal level for a housing project. And I suggested to some of the people that have some say over where the money goes that they should explore getting one of these 3D printable housing companies that does it with concrete to look at maybe using the money for the housing project, because those would be pretty durable. So if you know somebody that runs one of those companies and they want like an experimental neighborhood where they build, 20 or 30 houses, small houses out of concrete, let me know, because I might know somebody.
My favorite thing about that story was the homeowners refused to be interviewed.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is just our house. Go away.
You're on the precipice of new technology. This is my house. Go away.
No, this is not for you to get clicks. I'm going to live here. And moving into the AI section, it's all about OpenAI. They're changing the world, but is it for the best?
OpenAI begins piloting ChatGPT Professional, a premium version of its viral chatbot. Oh, did we have a story about Microsoft sniffing around buying a 49% stake in OpenAI? We had the story last week. There's a couple follow-ups with that, but there's not really a lot to report yet at the time we're filming this, other than
Yes, we have a story about that. But first, we have a story about a competitor.
Anthropic's Claude improves on ChatGPT, but still suffers from limitations. Oh, the model's not quite as huge.
That will be solved with time. Plus, ChatGPT has been nerfed, so
they'll meet in the middle. It's a win-win.
Easy to beat them. These are.
It's slightly out of order.
We'll reorder that.
Yeah.
But Microsoft definitely. We talked about Bing.
Yeah.
Microsoft was like, if we turn that loose on Bing, as bad as Google is right now, we could just take over the world. And it seems like they really, really want to do that.
Yeah. Microsoft in talks to invest $10 billion in ChatGPT owner OpenAI. Semafor reports. And this could, like between Azure and the compute and Microsoft's data sets, this could be the thing to catapult ChatGPT well ahead of the competition.
It's interesting though, Microsoft wants 75% of profit until they get back their $10 billion.
Yeah. But they're only taking a 49% stake in the company, so it's not a controlling interest.
And Microsoft is definitely thinking of many, many ways that they could take that amazing AI technology that they don't currently have and use it against us.
Microsoft's new AI can simulate anyone's voice with just 3 seconds of audio.
That's going to be a wild time.
That'll be a new fun thing to deploy with Apple's audiobook thing.
Oh, yeah. Man, if you are a voice actor or, an audiobook recorder, start training for something else. Start driving a truck. Truck driving will last longer than your career, even with self-driving trucks. And Microsoft wants to take its existing suite of products and make them better. Question mark with AI.
Ghostwriter. Microsoft looks to add OpenAI's chatbot technology to Word and email. And also, the one that I'm excited about, Power Automate. Hey, Power Automate, just do this thing for me. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do it all except for one step, which I'll get backwards. And you won't be able to tell.
I never knew that you could set a printer on fire by sending it a bad job. That's interesting.
And the things that we have, it's kind of like when we got, high powered quantum type computing. It's like, oh, imagine if we turn it loose on this. So every week there's a new thing. It's like, let's just see what the AI can do with this.
AI turns its artistry into creating new human proteins. In the New York Times article, inspired by digital art, biologists are now doing fun things. Isn't bad like if you introduce a protein that folds the wrong way to the body, then all the proteins start folding that the wrong way.
This
And it,
could go so
yeah,
catastrophically wrong. They're playing God, and we're going to pay for it someday.
I'm not a biologist, but engagement challenge. How catastrophic would it be if some virus that was highly communicable teaches your body to fold proteins the wrong way? Like, is that an extinction level event, or how badly does that go? Engagement challenge.
Could be pretty bad. Could result in some crazy thing like, I don't know, like waves of myocarditis and heart attacks. I don't know, probably wouldn't. And another one that we need Chris to hear for, because this, like, I don't know how much proof we have of this, because when you look through it, it's like, well, they say something kind of like that. They don't say exactly that, but we know that they would do this.
Yeah.
If they didn't think of it, they're probably working on it now, just because Adobe is evil, and we know that.
Artists accuse Adobe of tracking their design process to power its AI. So if you would imagine Adobe so worried about people pirating their software that they track every little mouse movement and every little click and every little thing that you do. Oops, sorry, I hit the mic. Every little thing that you do in the application. And then what if they feed that into their AI that's generating artwork? It learned from all of those artists collectively what their process is in Photoshop and Illustrator and everything else, and then what the end result is.
Now, they say no, it's not about that. They say it's about watching what you're doing to try and suggest things that it can do for you, not to steal your work. That sounds like a lie. I guess we'll see.
How do you have that but not the other thing? Because it seems like those are the same thing.
Are we going to have to build a script that you turn on when you leave your computer so that it's just doing fake movements in Adobe all the time to obfuscate?
I single-handedly prevented the extinction of the human race by feeding the AI just nonsense mouse clicks.
We'll create, it's a mouse jiggler, but instead of just jiggling, it draws penises constantly on the screen just to foil the Adobe. And we got a new milestone. I bet that, because I kind of felt like this, is like, well, my job is probably not going to be replaced by AI because the AI needs us to build it. And then, like all this code AI come out, and I was like, oh God. I bet the lawyers had a similar feeling, but don't think you're protected.
In a world first, an AI lawyer will help defend a real case in the U.S. Don't get excited. It's traffic court. Although the company behind it has offered $1 million if they can get the AI in front of the Supreme Court somehow, which would be real tricky for a lot of technical and logistical reasons.
For a traffic appeal?
Well, no, not for traffic, just anything at the Supreme Court level. But this is it's a traffic court case. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Now, the AI cannot represent you in court. What's going to happen is you're going to have an earpiece, I imagine, or maybe you can just read it. But the AI is going to be coaching you on how to represent yourself in court.
Neat.
It's ballsy, but somebody's going to do it, and it's going to be fun to watch. And when it comes to AI art, it's so good, but then we get into a world where, like, what if someone was purposely trying to make their art look like AI art? What happens then? What happens with the false positive?
I don't believe you. Artists banned from Reddit's R art community because the mods thought they used AI.
The real story here is just that Reddit mods are the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
They're the worst human beings ever. They love the power, and you just shouldn't be on there.
I know. I can tell by some of the pixels. It's like, well, you can go watch the Twitch stream where they drew this by hand.
How dare you question me? I'm a Reddit mod. And AI, this is not a new thing, but it's going to get more and more prevalent, and it's going to get better and better, and we're going to lose the ability to tell the difference.
This virtual Twitch streamer is controlled entirely by AI. Neurosama, is that how you say that? It quickly became a rising star of the VTuber phenomenon. But this is not the first one. The first one to do this was banned for terms of service violations because it had to be a real person.
I think in this case, they're upfront about it. Maybe that's the difference.
I don't know.
But they say that it has some really interesting interactions. They also said that they had to build several filters to try and get it to not do horrible things, because the chat would take it to a bad place almost immediately.
Yeah.
And when it comes to AI, counteracting AI and detecting AI is going to become a cottage industry. If you're looking to start that business, might want to get this guy's resume.
College student made an app that exposes AI written essays. GPT-0 detects ChatGPT fueled plagiarism. It's surprisingly good at detecting ChatGPT based text, which is fascinating.
What he's figured out is that AI, excuse me, tends to, because it is just word to word, moving word to word, it does things in bursts and does sentence in bursts, or it doesn't, where a human would, where its style can switch faster than a human style would switch. And it's got some pretty good numbers, according to him. Just a weekend project. If I were OpenAI, I would buy that.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And incorporate it into the training.
In space news, the Russian capsule, it turns out, is kind of done. I mean, it's probably going to be able to get home, but the thermal properties, because that coolant is gone, they've changed, and we probably don't want to put any humans in that box.
Russia to rescue ISS crew on backup rocket after a capsule leak. So this is the capsule leak we reported. Things have been analyzed. It doesn't look good. We're not going to use the capsule to return.
Also, we've now ruled that this was a micrometeorite.
Interesting.
Bad luck. Over in Europe, they're still trying to put some stuff in space. It didn't go well this week.
Britain's groundbreaking satellite launch ends in failure by breaking the ground.
They got it up there and it got stuck in one of the stages. We don't actually know what happened yet. But those satellites never made it.
Very sad. I bet Elon Musk will license them the technology. Or perhaps they could partner with Jeff Bezos. He's a little bit on the struggle bus.
Now moving into the nonsense section. And my goodness. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not subsidize this?
We did.
Wasn't Warp Speed just pouring money into this?
Yeah.
Seems like it should be owned by the people.
Yeah. That's how it usually works.
And yet.
Moderna CEO says the 400% price hike on the vaccine for the thing is consistent with the value.
Now he talks about the value, but am I incorrect in thinking that it basically didn't work? Seems like the value would be low.
It might have improved the survival rate. But it definitely seems like something that warrants a federal investigation, and or maybe we could get some of that money back.
I bet that's not going to happen.
Can we use like the 400% price hike? They could definitely afford to pay back the money that was, right? That's how that works.
And never let a crisis go to waste, right? This is being painted as animal activism, but imagine how much money they're going to save on this. It's going to be astonishing.
FDA no longer needs to require animal tests before human drug trials. Now, some people have said that animal trials don't make sense in a lot of cases, but the real reason for this is because the technology for simulating things like livers and hearts and lungs and whatever has gotten really good. Like we literally just have those cells, we grow those cells artificially and put them on a microchip and then analyze them whenever we're doing things to them with various drugs. And apparently that's better than animal experimentation, but I don't know. I mean, that seems like that science is moving really fast if we're ready to just stop all animal stuff immediately.
I hope this doesn't lead to them culling entire buildings full of little white mice.
Yeah.
That'd be sad. Maybe better than what they were going for, though. I don't know. And this is, oh man, just...
I don't even... This story is just horrifying.
It's, but the real horrifying thing about this story, and I think the reason it's important that we look at it, is that nothing bad is going to happen to this guy.
That is sad.
They actually, well, we don't know for sure, but the church in question were like, he's old, just let us keep him and we'll keep him out of trouble. Like they're actually defending him.
Yeah, a priest who was 72 years old made slideshows with thousands of images of very bad things with children. Exactly what you think. And he was found out after leaving nude pictures of himself on a church printer. So this is just, he got so aged that he was no longer able to hide what he was doing competently.
But why was he doing the pictures of himself? That doesn't make any sense to me. He was making PowerPoint presentations. That's how he liked to consume his horrible material. And they talked about how he curated them for decades. He was always going back and tweaking his PowerPoints just to make them that much better. Also, the other crazy thing about this is there's going to be a settlement.
It's $4,200.
$4,200 to the children that they have identified. Like they actually know who some of these kids are.
Oh no, it's $4,200 to one victim, and then there's another. It's like 25,000 total. It's like $4,200 to one victim, and then there
was it just one victim though? I thought it was more like it's just as
the rest of it was like 10 or 15,000 to a pool of victims. 22,000. There we go. While the remaining 22,000 will go toward the other victims involving children. Or 40, yeah.
4750?
4750, yeah.
That's not enough money.
No.
That's not. I don't know if there's a money amount that can make up for that.
No.
But it sure ain't 4750 in these inflationary times. I put this in here because I thought like that's the most horrible thing that I've ever heard of. It turns out this was requested.
Yeah.
But the people in the audience didn't know that.
Yeah.
They were not warned ahead of time.
The answer is flash mob funeral with another one bites the dust. And the decedent requested that, but the people in attendance didn't know that, which I think is amazing. That's like the ultimate troll. Like you find that out later, and it's like that old battle axe.
She also had the pink coffin with "going out in style" emblazoned on it. That was clever. They said that they had a really tough time sourcing the dancers because once they explained to them what they would be doing, most of them were like, "No, I'm not doing that."
For some reason in my head, as I was picturing how all of this unfolded, when another one bites the dust was done, I imagined that the pink coffin had one of those car alarms in it so that somebody would hold up the thing and hit the button and it was like, beep, beep. I don't know why.
You're the wrong person to ask this question of, but what song would you go with as your like secret flash mob song at your funeral?
My brain already preloaded Weird Al's Another One Rides the Bus.
You're just going to copy this person. Engagement challenge.
I'd have to think about it. Maybe something Weird Al, obviously, but I couldn't tell you what.
Of course, obviously. What if I mean, I don't know. He's older than you, right? He's probably going to go before you. But if he didn't, and he was willing to do a live show at your funeral, how happy would you be for that?
I would be super excited. I definitely would not shuffle off until that had concluded.
Well, you already did.
Well, I mean,
you mean like your spirit hanging out there?
Yeah, I'd be hanging out.
We've been doing a bunch of DUI stories lately, and they're just, I guess, because now I'm looking for it. A lot of my news sources are like, "Oh, algorithm, you want DUI stories?" And it's just astonishing. It's astonishing what we tolerate.
Aurora police officer promoted after passing out drunk at a wheel of cop car while working in 2019. Those two things are not related, but you shouldn't be able to earn a promotion after screwing up that egregiously, I think was the article author's point.
Also, he's getting promoted, making 110 grand a year. We're overpaying our cops. Sure, you can find somebody to do it for half that. This is just terrifying because, like in some parts of the world, what's being made nearby you is very volatile, and sometimes it explodes.
Officials urge LaSalle residents not to touch the green substance released during fire. Why? Because it's a very powerful oxidizer. And we aren't going to have a functional enough supply chain to get these people the vinegar and peroxide and water that they need in order to contain this oxidizer.
Which you need a gallon jug of each.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk about how exactly you mix that before you do it. I don't know if you do those one after the other.
They literally just said, let us come deal with it. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
But is the National Guard going to bring them the peroxide and all the stuff that they need to do that? Because if they don't, I've got news for you. The local Walmart don't care.
Maybe think about, what's being manufactured near you before you move into an area. Now, I know that one of your favorite people in the world is Larry Ellison. And for those of you who don't know, Larry Ellison owns an island, basically. He doesn't own it.
He does.
But he basically owns it. But it's good to see that some of the cops, at least on Ellison Island, are still keeping it real.
Larry Ellison, mea culpa, as traffic cop stops the big red boss on his own island. So he ran a stop sign and he was speeding. He was going a little fast. And they got the body cam and the footage was released. This is on Lanai, I guess, because he bought 85 or 90% of the island.
I think it was the upper 90s. He's got almost all of it. They talk about he'd already closed off one of the beaches, and the people that still live there were like, dude, you can't just close off the beach. We have to be able to use the beach. So they let him do that. And he was very nice to the cop, though.
Yeah.
He didn't give him the old, do you know who I am?
He kind of did. But it was like, was I going a little fast? I don't know. I need to go home and see my kids. Are we done? I need to go.
Pro tip. When a cop asks you, do you know why I pulled you over? They're trying to get you to admit to a crime. Never say yes to that. And be like, I just lost track of my speed. Don't say anything like that. Just say, no, I don't know why. This week in What Joy from Our Youths Will They Ruin Next? We have a terrible one on the chopping block.
Dungeons and Dragons live action series ordered by Paramount Plus from Ross and Marshall Thurber, E1 and Paramount Pictures. The Dungeons and Dragons crew, it's almost like those people have some experience running a campaign, because there is a campaign to take this down at the highest levels. It is amazing.
Have you been following the other Dungeons and Dragons thing? So Wizards of the Coast, who are Magic the Gathering, bought Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons always had a perpetual license for use. So like if you made a thing with the D&D rule set, that was okay. You could do that. It was like almost a GPL license. Wizards of the Coast is rescinding that backwards. They want to be able to use all the content you produce using that rule set. They want a cut of your profits. They want to look at your books to make sure they get all of that profit. And they have a new subscription service that they're trying to funnel everybody into to monetize D&D.
So Neverwinter Nights and games like that use roughly that. Doesn't Neverwinter Nights use the D&D system?
They are definitely part of the D&D world, yeah. So Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, anything built on those worlds.
They would run afoul of that, which is deeply disconcerting.
Yeah, and people, like you say, are very well organized, striking back at that.
Yeah, well, I wish the worst for the Wizards of the Coast.
Disgusting. It'll be a terrible series. I hope it's not, but it probably will be.
I can't believe it took 2 years to monetize this, but okay.
There's a YouTube channel. Somebody has a cat where they do this. You ever see that? The cat will be like, I want water, or I want the toy. And I don't know how real it all is. It seems like it's real, but they might be editing creatively.
We covered 2 years ago videos about a dog named Bunny that was doing this, and it was fascinating to watch those videos. And I think that's what sort of got this monetized, because now you can just buy these.
But will it work for your dog, or was that dog special? Could little Rue ever be taught to do this?
Remember when Krista first got Rue, I was like, I need to build some of these so we can try this.
Well, you missed your chance.
Ever wanted a talking dog? New products may be close enough. So there's the buttons, and you teach the dog to hit the button, and then you learn what the dog wants. So 2 years ago, Bunny, the dog, the reason it went viral was because Bunny saw herself in the mirror, and she went over to the who button, and she said, who and this, who this. And then she would go back over to the mirror, who this? And her owner was like, that's you, Bunny. And, Bunny would like look at her owner, look back at the mirror. And then she ran over and she hit the button for help. The dog was, it was so plain to see that you would ascribe that behavior to an existential crisis in a dog.
Sudden self-awareness would have to be shocking. Yeah. Tough thing to deal with. I hope Bunny's still doing well. Maybe just shuttered off that part of its mind.
Yeah. It's like, I think a lot of people felt a real connection to Bunny that day. It's like, who am I? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know who I am, but I also don't really have a good idea who Demi Lovato is.
No clue.
She appears to be a musician of some sort. I think maybe I've heard some of her music.
Has Weird Al perhaps parodied one of her songs?
She might be too new for that. But she is in a little bit of hot water because of some spicy advertising campaigns.
Demi Lovato poster banned by advertising regulator for being offensive to Christians. Something about a dominatrix outfit and a crucifix bed.
And the F word, but she did the thing where she replaced the U with a V. So it's FVCK, which is not a curse word. And what did it say? It said, what was the second word? Oh, it's holy F.
Oh.
on a crucifix shaped bed tied to it with the whole Jesus thing. So they're saying that that's offensive to Christians. It's not allowed.
But it's okay for that 72-year-old dude to just,
Yeah, well, you can.
I see what's happening here.
There's no way to say this around the aisle.
You're just gonna have to use your imagination.
You can F all of their body except their mind. That's the rule. That's how they do it. I love her shoulder spikes.
Oh, I didn't notice those.
That's a great
neat.
fashion statement.
That's a great way to avoid hover hand too.
It's also a great way to fall down and hurt yourself badly. Here was the big
Obviously a woman that doesn't have cats at home.
here's the big controversy this week is the hand of the government coming for everything that you own.
A U.S. federal agency is considering a ban on gas stoves based on questionable pseudoscience that says that it may be linked to asthma. Or maybe not. We don't know.
But it does definitely keep you alive when the electricity goes out. Did you move to electric or are you still on a gas stove?
I'm still on gas.
That's a lot of people prefer it.
Yeah, I definitely prefer. So it's usually you get a range and an electric oven as the combo. But I actually got a gas stove and a gas oven, which is unusual because that's what we grew up with.
You can also heat your water in the house with gas, which will once again keep you alive
Very fast.
in
Yeah.
horrible temperatures when the electricity is down.
Yeah, so I have a gas hot water heater, gas boiler at home, which is funny because it's like, oh yes, you can use a gas boiler. We're not considering a ban on that. We just don't want you to cook food with it. But my house is also extremely well vented, and some people don't like. It's like, oh, you can have ventless, gas. I don't know about that, but my vent is vented very well to the outside.
A conspiracy theorist might argue that rather than the asthma thing, what this would really do is create more reliance
Yeah,
for individuals
on electricity.
on the government.
If only our electric grid were more reliable than a couple of crazy burglars could shoot a couple of transformers and take out the grid for thousands of customers. Just a little bit more reliability than that, maybe before we go jettisoning the gas stoves, which the gas infrastructure is fortunately not on telephone poles high above the ground.
But the problem is we need all that natural gas to send to Europe because someone blew up that pipeline. And here is, my God, the unintended consequences. We've talked about this before, but they are going through with it. They're going to do this. How is this not regulated by somebody? How are you allowed to just do this?
Inventor in Baja is testing a plan to cool the Earth by mimicking a volcanic eruption that is ejecting reflective particles into the atmosphere to send the sun's rays into space so that less sun's rays will make it to the Earth.
And even CNBC, who you might think would be a little more open to this kind of thing, points out the astronomical amount of that you would have to do to get 1 degree of cooling. Like the amount that volcano put out was just astonishing. So these guys will be working around the clock to try to hit that.
There were some negative side effects from that volcanic ash being literally everywhere, as I recall.
Who could imagine seeding the clouds with weird items might have some sort of effect later on? If you have an extra, what was it, $50 a month and a pricey life insurance policy and you want to just throw all that away, good news.
Want to avoid death? Maybe cryonics isn't crazy. You assign the cryonics company as your beneficiary, they freeze you, and maybe someday you'll be able to be thawed out.
Now, they expect that technology to take at least a century. And they point out that how many companies do we know of that have been in business for a century?
Very few.
I don't know if there's any.
There's a few. Not very many. There was also a couple of cryonics companies that have already gone under. And they just, were like, well, we'll just dispose of all the bodies normally.
Yeah, it's a fool's bet.
Yeah.
Don't make that gamble. Don't make any kind of gamble that pays out after you die. The Taliban have been hard at work to make their beautiful country into their dream of whatever it should be, they've decided to get into automotive.
Taliban have launched Afghanistan's first supercar. It has got a Toyota Corolla engine.
Is it a Corolla? I think it might be a Supra.
Oh, was it? I don't know. It was a Toyota something.
It's all Toyota parts. I don't even know if it's a like one consistent theme of Toyota. It's just whatever they could get. They are not producing these. This is a pure press release. This is a kit car.
Somebody made this. It's just an engine bolted to a frame. That's
But
all.
they're super proud of it. It is.
Corolla hatchback.
Oh yeah, they say the engine is similar to, and they did a mid-engine or rear-engine configuration for it. No one knows anything about how fast it'll go, or even if it will go. As we move toward war with China, one thing is for certain: we're going to need a lot more warm bodies to throw at that conflict. But the problem is, less and less people are signing up for the military. So what do? Lower that bar. Just drag it on down.
Amid the recruiting crisis, Army makes new companies for recruits who don't meet the academic and fitness standards. Well, I mean, sometimes the fitness standards are related to poor genetics or too many PUFAs, too much processed food.
It's got to be a little bit of a hit to your self-esteem if you're in fat company or stupid company.
Wait, stupid company was always just the infantry, right? Otherwise, it's like, oh, we're going to send you over here. We're going to send you over there. It's like, oh, no, you're infantry.
We're going to sort you over here into meat shield since there's so much of you. And, we're going back to school, but we had a couple of weird years there.
Why is this a headline?
And people got kind of mixed up and we don't know how to behave with others anymore. All of that's breaking down. And we have to control it more and more.
2 Essex schools ban pupils from hugging and holding hands. What they don't tell you in the headline is that the struggle here is that this is not necessarily public displays of affection. This is people having a panic attack.
Although, back in our day, what about the buddy system? You were supposed to hold hands to keep one child from being snatched or wandering off.
Also, a fire drill. It was like when you were leaving the building, you were supposed to hold hands because it might be smoky.
That's weird. Could you do that in emergencies?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay during a panic attack too, because sometimes you might have, the bunny style existential crisis in the middle of class, and then, somebody hugs you and it's like it's going to be okay. That's probably good.
Yeah, kids with certain mental disorders. That's what, like when they just sort of like hug them and calm them. I guess that's not allowed.
Maybe it's going to be bad.
Throw a weighted blanket over them.
Probably going to lead to some shootings.
A net. It'll be a stabbing over there.
Oh,
a screwdrivering.
A potato peeling. Sorry.
And it's interesting when, if we're going to make fun of them for the screwdrivers, there's a lot of shootings here.
I'm pretty sure this is a plot from some B movie from the 80s. JSO arrest report, argument over heaven and hell leads pastor to being shot. So there was a funeral, and there was somebody at the funeral who is a pastor, not the pastor for the funeral, but in the family, and argument between family members ultimately led to a shooting, which included the pastor. And I swear I think this is a Netflix movie.
How would you stretch that into 12 episodes? Now, I don't know much about the Canadian Girl Scouts or whatever they call them, guides. It's Girl Scouts. Wonder which came first. Probably Girl Scouts, right?
Engagement challenge. Which came first?
But why were they named brownies? Do you know?
No clue.
I have no idea. Because we call ours like what, Weeblo? Is that Native American?
Yeah.
Cub Scout and Boy Scout. But that's gendered.
Yeah.
God, we got to throw it all away. Just burn it all to the ground.
Canada Girl Guides drops its brownies name after it's deemed offensive.
What about the food?
They're now the Embers.
What are we going to do about the food?
I think, see, that's what I thought. I thought this was, I didn't know. I guess there's a racial component for this. Next thing you're going to tell me that the North Colorado crackers are not okay and we're going to have to change those.
Does that exist?
No.
I could see Nabisco moving into a town being like, yeah, our baseball team is the Crackers.
The Oreos. There's the Orioles. I learned that that's not the same.
But it is Canadian. Oh, no, it's Baltimore, isn't it? I'm sorry, that's wrong. I don't know the baseball. Well, I read this headline and I thought, you know what? It's going to be really interesting when I read this later to figure out why they did that. No explanation was given. This is just pure stupidity, I guess.
Florida burglars spotted while driving a pickup with stolen tag written on cardboard, deputies say. I'll tell you exactly what went through their meth-addled brains. It was, we're going to drive your truck, but they're going to catch us because it's got your license plate. Why don't we say your license plate was stolen? Ah, brilliant.
Why not just steal another license plate?
Well, I mean, they could have from the houses they were burgling.
Yeah. And you see a lot of this. The poor deer, they seem to have, I guess their vision is not that great. They can't deal with well-cleaned glass doors.
Yeah.
Maybe frost some of the glass on your door to avoid this kind of thing.
Chaotic footage shows deer crashing through a Minnesota butcher's shop glass door. Or it was coming to release its friends, but it was already too late.
Smashed right in and then like got confused and tried to get out a window. It's a fun little video. I don't think the deer, there was no blood. I think maybe the deer might have lived through it. And there was some blood here though. However, it doesn't go where you think it's going to go. This story has all sorts of twists and turns.
Trail of blood outside a New Mexico home leads to a Bengal tiger. So police get a call about a disturbance. They show up. There's a blood trail. They follow the blood trail to a trailer and don't hear anybody.
You're skipping steps.
Yeah, there's a lot of steps I'm skipping.
They get a call because somebody got hit by a stray bullet. They show up. While they're there, they hear another shot. They go toward the shot. That's when they pick up the trail of blood.
And then they follow the trail of blood to the trailer, to a trailer. They knock the door down and find a Bengal tiger cub in the cage and no source of the blood.
So the tiger was not, as we can assume, because it was a cub, probably wouldn't have attacked anybody anyway.
Perhaps the source of the altercation that led to the shootings?
So many questions. I wonder what's going to happen to the little guy. He's probably going to have to spend his life in a zoo.
Yeah. That's it turns out you're not allowed to own those things in New Mexico, which much of the U.S., it's got to go to a zoo or somewhere.
And this is another story that really let me down. Didn't give me any details.
Nope.
Spicy, animal-related headline, perfect for the nonsense section, but they give us nothing.
Press Trust of India reports DRDO's young scientist lab team creating rat cyborgs for intelligence, surveillance, and recovery ops of security forces. I think this is just rats with electronics strapped to them, listening devices and cameras. That's all it is, I think.
No, they said there was minimally invasive neural interface. So they did wire something into their brains.
Maybe just to steer them?
I don't know.
You could pilot a rat remotely, I guess. Maybe, possibly.
We kind of already had that with cockroaches, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's a rational next step.
Probably a little gruesome here. It's like the cat, the CIA cat, the $8 million cat that got ran over immediately when they ejected it from the van.
Acoustic Cat.
Yeah.
That's the name of that guy. What a horrible story that was. They were so surprised when the cat didn't follow their commands.
Who could predict it?
And cow stories are a never-ending source. I believe we covered this when it originally started.
We did, yeah.
These cows have been on the run for some time.
Fugitive cows in Quebec captured after months on the run. Now, this article said that they had never been captured since July. But last week we thought that maybe it's a different group of cows, but they said that they had been captured and then they got out again.
They sent in these rodeo cowboys who failed.
Yeah.
They were not able to wrangle these cows. That's how fugitive these cows were.
Fascinating.
But they put up some cages with food in them. And now that there's snow on the ground, the cows are like, yeah, time to go home. We've had our fun.
They'll break out. There's always next July. Or will there?
Oh, yeah. Well,
maybe not.
I think a steer you butcher at what, 2 years old?
I don't know. Engagement challenge.
And we've heard a lot about drones invading prisons and dropping some drugs off. They have developed some countermeasures for that, and I imagine they're listening for the buzz of drone. So, of course, you have to adapt.
Pigeon wearing crystal meth like a backpack caught inside a British Columbia prison yard. And this article talks about fascinating things like a Mexican drug dealer that had been buying carrier pigeons. And the person they bought the carrier pigeons from had to go to the police to say, hey, one of my carrier pigeons returned to me with cocaine strapped to their legs. Which I imagine the police should not have let the press know, because now the drug dealer knows who they bought the carrier pigeons from. and they know that they're a stoolie, it's probably their person's not safe.
Yeah, that is a dumb one. I didn't even think about that. Unfortunately, they didn't give us a picture of the little backpack. What are you doing, CBC?
Didn't want to give anybody any ideas.
But how would you train the pigeon to go to the prison? Because don't you have to like keep them in a certain spot and teach them?
Yeah.
If engagement challenge, anybody out there keep pigeons? We need Mike Tyson to explain this to us. And finally, when it comes to surveillance critters, of course, we had the acoustic cat. We know that dogs, I think snakes have been used in the past, dolphins for sure. I don't know if cows have ever been used for this, but it makes sense.
Palestinian elder accuses Israel of training cattle as spies. So the elder said that the cattle will wear electronic listening devices, cameras, microphones, whatever, and then that will be used to keep an eye on them. But there was no other real evidence here, or anything really.
You'd think that would be easy to pull one of those off.
Yeah, and just be
we
like,
could
what
take
is
a look at
the sophisticated wireless electronics? Or you could see radio emissions coming from the cows. That would be easy to detect.
We need more investigation into this. If you're in Palestine.
That would be a fun YouTube video. It's like, look, I found this advanced electronic listening device on literally all the cows. They could probably sell it to Iran or somewhere. Sophisticated electronics.
That would be an interesting love triangle, wouldn't
it? The economy of our country depends on the other country sending electronic spy devices into our country, which is then torn down to make things like washing machines and Israeli and spy drones.
What a great, like, low-tech, high-tech marriage if they use these cows to run stingrays and trap cell phones.
What do you mean the cell towers of the cows? Fun times. That's
all we got for this week. Back next week. Hopefully Krista will rejoin us.
It's been fun.
And hopefully it was fun for you too.
We'll catch you next week. January's gone. Get your Devember project in and finished up. Woo!